to welcome you and call to order the January 9th, 2018 Port Orchard City Council meeting, first meeting of the new year. So please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to start by welcoming Councilmember Rosa Pepe, our new addition. So,
Thank you.
And congratulations on being here.
Thank you.
And so we are to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or comments on this evening's agenda? Motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
And a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion of this evening's agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We're to our first citizen comment period for anything on this evening's agenda. Does anyone wish to comment this evening? Okay. We have another comment period at the end, so don't go away. We got consent agenda is next. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second it.
Second by Mr. Clausen. Any discussion on any of the items on the consent agenda this evening? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, yes, sir.
I just wanted to congratulate the city and Public Works for getting a grant that didn't require a match. So that was nice.
Now they just have more work to do.
Yeah.
With more money.
But we have more money to do it. That's right. So, yes, nice job, Mark. So, with that, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. We don't have any presentations, but we do have a public hearing on this evening, public hearing on the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan. Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Honor Council members. And Pat Campbell with Kitsap County Solid Waste Division is in the audience tonight if you have questions. Pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70.95 RCW Solid Waste Management, Reduction, and Recycling, a comprehensive statewide program for solid waste handling and solid waste recovery and or recycling was enacted by legislation. RCW Chapter 70.95.080 requires each county within the state, in association with the cities and towns located within it, to prepare a 20-year comprehensive solid waste management plan with periodic updates. On November 7th, 2017, the Washington State Department of Ecology approved the final draft of the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid Waste and Hazardous Waste Management Plan, final draft. Therefore, pursuant to interlocal agreement KC 184-08, and to meet the provisions of Chapter 70.95 RCW, the city proposes to adopt the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan, final draft. Staff recommends that the City Council open a public hearing for public comment regarding the adoption of the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan, final draft.
That I will open the public hearing on the Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid Waste Hazardous Waste Management Plan. Is anyone wishing to testify on this matter? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I know that the Utility Committee got an extensive presentation on this, and I believe everyone has in their packets and received earlier, late last year, a copy of the plan for your guys' review. So I've now closed the public hearing, and are we taking action at this point, Mark?
Later. No.
Later on the agenda? Yes. Okay. All right. We are to, looks like business item A, the appointment of the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted maybe to have a little discussion before we make the appointment regarding the length of time. We have the opportunity to do a 2-year appointment
Yes.
or remain in the 1-year appointments that we have
And we provided, I believe, two options.
You did, you gave us
Yes.
both options in the motion, but I just wanted to have a bit of discussion with the council and see before we make the recommendation. Start the discussion, I guess I'm just a creature of habit, and I kind of like the one-year appointments to where it kind of rotates it around amongst the different council members, so everyone gets an opportunity. Although the job has changed significantly since we no longer have to come down and sign checks, but it still gives you that opportunity. So that's my 2 cents.
I too was going to speak up on this, and I also believe that the 1 year length of time is just right and allows more people to get that experience. And, I mean, we do learn a lot when we are Mayor Pro Tem, so we have 7 of us. 1 year is what I'd vote for.
Others want to comment on it? Councilman Martina?
I also support the 1 year.
Sounding like that's the direction, so if somebody wants to make a motion. Actually,
No.
before we make a motion, I guess somebody needs to be nominated.
Well, the motion can, as presented,
Yeah.
would cover a 1-year appointment, so. Okay, who wants it?
Councilmember McBride?
I would nominate Scott Diener.
I second that.
Wow, that was fast.
You weren't looking, that's why we did it.
Fortunately, you were here.
I thought you were supposed to be gone for that.
We have a motion and a second.
I would just speak that I think Scott would be a very fine mayor pro tem, and I believe that the rest of us have been that at one point, and so I would enjoy having Scott in that position for the next year.
It's a good opportunity for you to be able to do this, newly elected that you are,
Thank you for your
Re-elected.
vote of confidence.
or actually elected.
Wonderful. So we have a motion and a second for further discussion. Sounds like Scott's accepting the responsibility.
Sure.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Congratulations, Mr. Diener.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to 7B, adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code, chapters 2.08, appointive officers. Ms. Cates.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. Good evening. As you know, on July 21st, 2017, the classification of the city of Port Orchard changed to that of the non-charter code city. Due to this reclassification, certain changes to the Port Orchard Municipal Code were needed. On October 24th, 2017, revisions to Chapter 2.08 POMC appointive officers to list all appointed officers were proposed and approved. Additional revisions to this chapter are needed to clarify the method for the appointment of and compensation of, as well as the powers and duties of each of the appointive officers. The ordinance before you tonight is to amend certain sections of Chapter 2.08 POMC appointive officers and to adopt certain new sections thereof. The proposed amendments to this chapter of the POMC incorporate provisions of the optional municipal code relating to certain rules and processes that apply to the appointment of appointive officers that apply to the city now that it has been reclassified to a non-charter code city, and also to provide cleanup of this chapter of the code. And fourth, staff recommends adoption of an ordinance amending and adopting certain sections of Chapter 2.08 POMC appointive officers as presented.
Yes, Mr. Pichardi?
Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending and adopting certain sections of Chapter 2.08 Port Orchard Municipal Code, appointive officers as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second by Mr. Diener. Discussion?
Mayor, I
Mr.
have
Clausen?
two comments or questions. One is I noticed that we've separated out the city engineer from the public works director. That's
That-
two separate positions.
We discussed that last year, and where are you at, and what page are you on?
72?
65 of 146 is the
Yes,
public works
it
director.
could, in the future, we could have, this gives us that flexibility in the future. It is he is one and the same at this point.
Okay. And then the only other one, and I guess this is a question for the city attorney, and maybe it's just semantics, but the appointment of the municipal judge, shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor. I think, does the mayor have that flexibility? Once the judge is appointed, they're pretty much independent, aren't they not?
That is true, that's true, yeah. The appointment is the mayor's to make, but the removal, I think, is not.
Once the contract's signed,
Yeah.
because of GR 29, I can't make a change for 4 years.
Well, that's why it
Strike
struck
that
me
language.
as and shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor as a nice thought, but is not
True.
possible.
Yeah.
So strike that?
So where would you like to say?
Well, I would stop it right after
The title.
chapter
versus-
2.08, period.
But yes, I think I agree with you that that particular language should be stricken from that
Yeah,
section.
I
Yes.
can't appoint, I believe I could remove the judge at the expiration of the contract. I could choose
You
to,
just wouldn't reappoint.
wouldn't reappoint, I wouldn't remove, I just wouldn't reappoint.
Right.
Potentially.
Thank you for that.
I have a question.
Okay, so what was the recommendation? Is there a motion to change? I think we need to change this.
So it would be section 2.08.080, just the phrase at the very end of the first paragraph, and shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor would be stricken.
Okay, be stricken, yes. I would move to amend to make that change.
Second.
Motion and a second to amend the section related to the city attorney.
No,
for the-
city municipal
No.
judge.
Excuse me, city municipal judge, you're correct.
I have another question on that.
On that one, okay?
If we look at the numbering, that's under section 17, and it's 2.08.080.
Oh, yeah, I see that there's, that.
If you
needs
look
to be-
under section 15, we have a 2.08.080.
Yeah, it should be 28090 at that point, yeah.
So we probably want to include
Include
that
that in.
Scribner's error.
Yes.
Also, I think the end of the powers and duties section, subject to the general supervision and control of the mayor or the mayor's designee, I don't think that applies either.
That probably needs to go as well.
That needs to go
Yeah.
as well.
Approval of the second, I would include that in my amendment.
And that's why I said city attorney, because I was at the number you said and not the title you said. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to amend these powers and the section related to the municipal judge, which also should be numbered 2.08.090. Discussion of Mr. Clausen's amendment. Okay. All in favor of Councilmember Clausen's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is amended. Further discussion of the main motion?
Yes,
Councilmember
I do
Ashby
have a
first.
discussion. Under section 15, 2.08.080, city attorney, under number 1, it says there is hereby created the position of city attorney. The mayor may appoint or remove the city attorney with confirmation by a majority vote of the city council. Since I've been on city council, we have had 2 different city attorneys excused, and that was never with the majority vote of the city council. So I'm wondering if this is a change, and is it a change we want, or is it just an oversight?
I believe I can appoint with confirmation of the council, but the removal, I don't believe I need.
Well, just so you know, this language is current code. It's looks like it's red in the red line version because it's been moved, but the actual language is current code language. So I can't speak to how that has been interpreted in the past, but if that is language that you would like to change at this point, that's certainly your prerogative.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I just wanted to,
It's a good question, and I thought of the same thing, and I wasn't quite sure that under the former class of the city, the council wasn't involved in the removal.
Right, and I was speaking with Finance Director Crocker earlier, and it could be that when this was drafted, you'll see that the second sentence talks about the mayor approving or appointing or removing the city attorney. I believe that means when they are a city employee, because the next sentence says, in lieu of the city attorney being a city employee, the city may enter into a professional services contract with a law firm upon agreement by the mayor and confirmation by the city council. And so I don't know enough about how the city attorneys have been hired in the past, but I believe they generally have been by professional services contract. So if the council would prefer that if the city attorney is ever hired as a city employee, that it would not be, that, you know, that it would be just a mayoral appointment. Or in any case, whether an employee or a professional services contract situation, if you want to change how you confirm, you certainly may do so.
My question is not how we confirm, it's how we
Oh,
remove.
remove,
Yeah,
right.
and the other directors, it appears, which is consistent with how we, past practices, is the mayor hires and there's confirmation by the city council, but the mayor has had the authority to terminate any employee.
Or serves at the pleasure of the mayor.
Pleasure of the mayor, yes.
This kind of, you mentioned something that, is it because if city attorney was under a professional services contract, because it's a contract, the council gets involved in that?
That's,
As an employee, the council wouldn't necessarily be involved or should be involved.
that's was my speculation about why this might have been written the way it was, yeah.
Is that consistent with state law?
It is, yes. I mean, the state law allows the city council to be as involved or as uninvolved as you choose to be in these appointments. So it's up to the council whether they want to be involved with both removal, appointments.
Can the city council be involved in the removal of a department head as an employee?
Certainly, yes.
Something new's been added.
Is that because of Code
And
City?
I'm not sure that we necessarily want that, it's just that
That's
up
not
until
ours.
now, and I'm not sure if it's because of the change of to Code City or not, whether or not we have that with the change, because prior to, we didn't.
Right. I should probably look into that to make sure that that's a Code City thing, as opposed to, because if that hasn't been the way this city has done it as a second-class city,
Well, the
that
way
could be
this
just
is
it was-
written, as far as the department heads, the council is not involved in the removal, it's just in the city attorney.
That doesn't mean it's not allowable by state law, it just happens to be the way this particular
Right,
code's
and
written.
Correct.
I guess it's up to the council if we have that. I would think we'd want to check that out before we take action one way or another, just so we know.
Something that could be changed.
And I don't know if this clouds the issue or brings clarity, but if you follow up to section 2.08, of appointment and removal of appointment officers, in that section, it does speak to the city attorney being removed by the mayor.
And where was that at?
Page 64.
Yeah, section 2.
Section 73, contradictory.
No, it actually suggests that all of them are appointed and removed on confirmation of the council. It's just that the language for each section didn't quite follow that, except maybe for the city attorney.
Well, yeah, that section, it
Yeah,
talks
that-
about confirmation by the city council of appointments of officers shall be required only when the city council by ordinance provides for confirmation. It doesn't talk about removal.
What section are you quoting?
Page 64,
Yeah,
section 2.
section 2.08010.
Okay, because I didn't see removal.
Yeah,
addressed
removal's
in
not
it.
in there.
Well,
Oh,
I
that's right,
guess
it's at
my
the top.
question
It's at the
Yeah,
top.
no, it's at the
is
top, it's the
that
very first
this
sentence,
is
yeah.
the previous language,
Oh.
which was consistent with what I've always been told, is that the council doesn't get involved in terminations. But if you're suggesting that the council now has that ability, which one do we change? Or do we change any of them?
Right.
I think,
Historically, I mean, you've been around
Historically,
much
we
longer
follow
than I
this.
have, John, that the council controls the org chart and the budget, and the mayor's.
firms appointments.
It confirms appointments, and then the mayor's.
Right.
The administrative branch to carry out the day-to-day operations, which includes
And
hiring
I'm
employees. and-
perfectly fine with that. It's just that one case where there's a confirmation by the council, and I'm not sure if that distinction is because of a professional services contract, or what I'm hearing the attorney say, that things have changed and the council may not want to, but has the ability to if they so desire, which would surprise
Much
me.
like the municipal judge, I mean, the mayor made the appointment, we had to approve the contract.
Right.
Well,
Do you
it's It's a pretty big deal. So
With the city attorney, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we want to table this for 2 weeks?
I think
Well, is it time sensitive?
No, I don't
so.
believe it is.
This is the continued cleanup we've been doing for
Yeah, no, that's
3
kind of what
months
my
on
perception
all the Code
was.
City stuff. I think this is.
I think we should wait, get it
yes,
right.
I think
Does somebody want to make,
Check with municipal research as well.
Make a motion to table this until our next business meeting 2 weeks from tonight.
Second it?
motion and a second, we're over here.
Yeah, I
tabling.
just wanted to have a little more discussion. Okay, so I've got two questions. I understand the importance of these positions, but I'm curious about why the code enforcement officer rises to the level of an appointive position.
That's what is that in the state law, Sharon? We questioned that too, when we were going through it. It's been through the holidays since we were working on this. Can't remember if that was in the RCW. It is in our current code that way.
Yeah,
Right.
current code.
Yeah, it's not in the optional municipal code called out as one of the appointive officers you have to have, but it allows you to have whatever appointive officers you want to have. So it doesn't have to rise to the level.
Maybe in that we're tabling this, we can pick that up as well. And then I have another question.
So with the preference, if we're bringing this back at a later date, is there a preference not to have the code? Nick, is there a reason that the code enforcement officer was, I think you were involved in these discussions.
Yeah, I think it's because he's writing civil infractions and also because of the liability associated with his position. I think maybe it has something to do with him going on to property to do abatements and enforcements and things of that nature, but I'd have to look back through my records to.
He is different though, because he's the only one of the appointments that's not a director.
Right,
Everyone else is the director level positions.
right.
So it's a good question. Any other question?
And then I have another question. Is the hearing examiner under a professional services contract currently?
Yeah.
Then I would suggest that we take a look at the language at 208 and 110 and see if it should mimic the city attorney's language, which references a professional services agreement.
Those are all good catches.
That's all I have.
Mr. Rosebud?
So, Mr. Mayor, the question I would have then is, or what I'm hearing is, when Mr. Clausen brought up the question of, did we want to have any authority to approve removal by the mayor, or did we want to leave it as written? And the second question was, do any of the positions require language of saying approval of dismissal? Because two of them in here do say that.
Which is the other one?
I believe it was the city attorney, but there was two here. No, I'm sorry, the judge was
Okay.
pleasure of the mayor.
Okay.
But if it's a contract and you wanted to break the contract, you would have to come back to the council, correct?
Well, I think that's part of the question.
Yeah,
That needs to
yeah,
get answered is it a professional services contract? Is it because it's a contract? Typically, the council gets involved in contracts. But they don't get involved in personnel matter. Historically, we've never gotten involved in personnel issues. That's the mayor's job. But what's been raised here is, one, that may change whether we want to or not is another question, but whether we have the ability to or not. And two, is that specific because of professional services contract? I don't know.
And I don't have the attorney's contract at my fingertips. I know there is termination language within the contract itself.
I would think that, as far as the city attorney goes, I would think the council would want to weigh in on that. I think that particular position is dealing so much with helping guide policy decisions, not just, employee relations or day-to-day operations. And so I think for that, I think it makes sense for this to be a discussion amongst everyone that's up here. I think it's different than a director's level position. I think the importance of that, having an attorney that is competent, qualified, that we all, feel like is going to be able to represent the city with helping, making sure that we're doing everything in accordance with state law, I think is really important. There's a policy component to that.
And I would add that maybe we should treat the hearing examiner the same way because of the importance and the legality of the decisions that they make as well.
Mr. Clausen?
Well, if we're going to debate the issue, I would agree that the city attorney, in my mind, it's always been a struggle. The city attorney is not the mayor's attorney. It's the city's attorney, and part of the city is the council, the mayor, and the staff. So we all have our 2 cents into that position. But still gets back to the question, do we have that ability or do we not?
Sharon's got her work cut out for her.
Yeah.
So we're tabling this, we're done with our discussion of this item, so we're tabling it for 2 weeks from now.
And so that we probably should table the next 2 business items as well because they are related.
Okay, should we tackle those one, Robert, we're parliamentarian there, should we table these individually? I think we
Yes.
probably should.
So the motion's been made to table the current item on the floor.
Yes.
We just need a vote.
But
And
we're
then
about to-
just as a reminder, when we bring this back, you'll have 2 motions on the floor because the amendment to the motion, main motion was not voted on either. So, and that was just to change the, some
think-
language that I have written down here. So I'll bring both of those motions back
Why-
before
we're
you
gonna
at the next
Right,
time.
we voted on it.
No, we didn't.
But let's get that cleaned up.
Yeah, can we strike the amendment? We can vote on that and perhaps vote it down. And that way, all this is gonna get cleaned up and we'll vote on one motion next week. So I think what is gonna get cleaned up, it's gonna basically nullify that
It's
amendment
gonna
anyway.
fix the amendment.
Right, it will, yeah.
Can you table the
I don't,
Thought we voted, but
I thought we did too, but
thought we
maybe
tabled
not. But
everything.
the amendment was mainly focused on the municipal judge, which
Correct.
I don't think that's in question. The mayor doesn't have the authority to remove that position.
and I believe Mr. Clausen's correct, that we did vote on the amendment.
There's there, yeah, we did.
Yeah, so we voted on the amendment,
Voted on
which
the
is to clean up the portion related to the judge.
Right.
And
Renumber.
then we dove,
We're tabling the main motion as amended.
yes. Okay, all in favor of tabling to the next meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we've tabled item B.
Just moved it to date certain, not table. Table means you can't bring it back. Table.
Correct.
Okay,
You-
so you're gonna move it to date certain, which is
Date
the first,
certain.
next meeting.
Next meeting. Move
That's what
it.
Sean said.
That's what I thought. I was just
That's
double checking.
exactly what he said.
Check the tape.
So what is the, what would you, we don't want to say to table it then, what would you like us to say? To
Move to date certain, which
Date
is
to
the
adjourn
first meeting,
the-
yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're at 7C, which is adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapter 2.64, Code Enforcement Officer. And Mr. Kucharity?
Mayor, I would make a motion that we move this to a date certain 2 weeks from tonight.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion of moving this to the next council meeting? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we've moved that to the next business meeting. And we have 7D, adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapter 2.76, hearing examiner. Ms. Lucarelli?
I move that we move business item 7D to the January 23rd council meeting.
second.
Second by Councilmember Chang. Further discussion of moving that 2 weeks out? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we have moved that also to the council meeting. Apologize for a rough start to the new year.
No apologies, it's a way to get through the agenda quicker.
So now we're to 7E, adoption of a resolution adopting the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan, final draft. Dorsey?
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. Earlier this evening, a public hearing for public comment was held regarding the adoption of the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan prepared by the Kitsap County Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70.95, Solid Waste Management, Reduction, and Recycling. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute a resolution thereby administratively adopting the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan Final Draft.
Councilmember Lucarelli?
I move to adopt a resolution thereby administratively adopting the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan, SHWMP, final draft.
Second.
A second, further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Clausen?
I'm getting confused in the parliamentary process. We're being asked to adopt a resolution, thereby administratively adopts the plan. If we adopt the resolution, why is there an administrative process? Isn't that adopted?
Is it more of semantics than anything?
Well, I'm just confused. I think, once the council adopts a resolution, that's setting.
I didn't know if it had to do with the mayor administratively, the mayor signs it. I'm
Pat
not sure.
shaking her head, maybe she has something to say.
I am Pat Campbell, the Solid Waste Division Manager with Kitsap County Public Works. We actually have never run into this language in particular. My assumption is that by using this, you're designating the mayor as administering this resolution on behalf of the council. But again, I have not seen that term used in any of the other cities. So basically, each of the cities adopts it within their own jurisdictions, and then once we have all of those, we take them to the Board of County Commissioners, and they adopt it on behalf of the county, and it goes back to ecology for implementation.
I would think typically the council would adopt it. It's a job, or mayor's job, to administer whatever we do. So
So it seems
just
redundant.
seemed redundant to, we're going to adopt it, and then he's going to adopt it administratively, which I don't know that he has the ability to do, not to be picky.
In 20 years, Mark, when this comes back, remove this from your template.
Put that in your tickler, will you?
Okay.
And from the county's perspective, as long as we have the mayor's signature on that resolution, we don't really care what language you use.
And if I may, I'd like to compliment you and thank you for the work that you do with the county. I think this is a wonderful example of how governments should be working together, and the county has kind of a larger ability to develop something like this and administer something like this. And for us to be able to join into your program, I think is a wonderful, and it's a smart use of government dollars.
Well, thank you. And I do want to remind the city that, even though the solid waste division is within county government, those tipping fees, the disposal fees that are paid at the transfer station are to the benefit of all the residents in Kitsap County, regardless of jurisdictional boundaries. So, all of the work we do does benefit the citizens of the city of Port Orchard as well. So, thank you.
I had just one question. In the public hearing portion, we were advised that you're required to prepare a 20-year comprehensive plan. How frequently do you do that?
State law requires that jurisdictions look at the plan every 5 years to confirm that they're still current. And in fact, the most recent plan was adopted in 2011, and this plan really doesn't have any major changes, but there were significant enough changes, particularly from the county's operations perspective, that we thought it was worthwhile to do an update. And we do anticipate that in 5 years from now, as growth in the county continues, we may really need to look at more of a major update to the plan.
And again, when I read our whereases, it indicates that the city of Port Orchard participated in the update of your plan. We
That's
must have
correct.
had some staff level
That's
people
correct.
working with you.
Stephanie Bailey is the representative from Port Orchard to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and she's done a wonderful job. In fact, she's our chair and has been for many, many years, so she provides very valuable input.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Shea.
I want to compliment Pat on her presentation, and I was a little puzzled tonight that during the public hearing, we didn't see the presentation. It's about 20 pages. It is online. We went through it during our committee meeting, and it was non-controversial. I thought it was very interesting. Not everyone at that meeting thought it was as interesting as I did, for example, but it is available online. It has a lot of details about how the county is handling solid waste and what the city is adopting in those practices. For example, I didn't realize that you could put animal fat in with your yard waste. You know, I thought that bones, for example, and that was something that, I'm sure you've mentioned it before, but that's when I realized that had changed. So I was surprised that we didn't present this, but we probably don't need to. It is available online.
May I comment on that, Fred? During our meeting, we actually did discuss
Yeah,
this.
we talked about that
We
didn't
did.
want to take.
It was
the
a
time to do the
40 or
presentation.
45-minute presentation, and we made that decision to not present the full PowerPoint tonight because of that length of time, and the fact that it is available to look at online. And we did actually put something in mailboxes, I think.
Right, well, we provided a copy to each of the council members, and we put it on the webpage at the direction of the utility committee, knowing that we wouldn't be having a presentation tonight, but just the public hearing.
Right. So
That was
that
the
was the
direction of the
reason.
utility committee.
Just because of the length of time, and there weren't that many changes, actually.
There really are not that many changes, particularly that impact the city of Port Orchard in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Diener?
I also wanted to compliment you and Public Works on the solid waste and hazard waste management plan. But I also wanted to observe on page 54 where all of the counties are broken out, that Kitsap County has one of the lowest tipping fee rates, and I think
Yeah.
that's a reflection
Yeah.
of the good work that is done.
Yes, we do. We do have the benefit of a transfer station that actually has a rail spur that comes right into the transfer station. So we can actually put a lot more garbage into those rail containers. However, that being said, we are doing a rate study right now, and looking towards the future, our last rates went into effect in 2013, and as you all know, we were just coming out of the recession at that point. We had been using reserves. The previous rates had gone into effect in 2005. So we weathered the recession by using reserves. The rates that went into effect in 2013 were really just to make sure we were completely funding true costs of service and having 3 months' worth of operating revenue. Going forward, we really are making sure that we have fund balances where we can weather the next recession. Because, as we know, when something's dependent on, tonnage or quantity, water, when we have water conservation efforts, those fixed costs remain the same whether or not there's usage. So we really need to make sure that we're prepared for the next downturn in the economy when we see decreased tonnage again. So yes, those rates are very low. Our projection is that they will still remain lower than most of the surrounding jurisdiction, but you won't be seeing $71 for too much longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, you'll be voting on the adoption of the 2017 Kitsap County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Plan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the plan is approved. We're to 7F, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Active Construction, Inc. for the Tremont Street Private Utility Conversion Project and documenting procurement. Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. On December 15th, 2017, the city's Public Works Department advertised within the Port Orchard Independent, the city's webpage, and the Daily Journal of Commerce, and uploaded the Tremont Street Private Utility Conversion bid documents to the Washington Builders Exchange. On December 22nd, a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting was held at Port Orchard City Hall. By the January 29th, 2017 bid deadline at 1 p.m., the city received and opened only one sealed bid for the 2017-2018 Tremont Street Private Utility Conversion Project as follows. Active construction, $154,502.55 applicable tax. We had listed with the advertisement our revised engineer's estimate of $60,000, but we had originally budgeted for that whole activity $160,000. The city had only budgeted the $160,000 had originally budgeted $160 for this activity, but reduced the engineer's estimate based upon a reduced total number of conversions required for the corridor. Unfortunately, the time of year this activity was advertised and the construction window required to meet the Tremont Street widening Schedule 74 cutover window has resulted in the single bid received. With that said, for the benefit of the Tremont Street widening project and the affected parties within the corridor, staff still recommends accepting the ACI bid. Therefore, as required prior to contract execution and award, the city's Public Works Department completed the mandatory bidder responsibility checklist provided on the lowest qualified and responsive bid provided by ACI and confirmed that the bid was acceptable and that the city's Public Works Department could proceed with contract award. Staff recommends the City Council adopt Resolution 048-17, thereby approving contract 05417 with active construction in an amount not to exceed $154,502.55, applicable taxes included, for the 2017-2018 Tremont Street private utility conversion project.
Councilmember Clausen?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 048-17, thereby approving contract number C054-17 with Active Construction, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $154,502.55, applicable taxes included, for the 2017-2018 Tremont Street private utility conversion project.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Diener. Any discussion or questions? Yes, Mr. Chen.
Okay, go ahead, Fred.
Okay. I was wondering if there's any other publications you recommend that we advertise in, other than the local Port Richard Independent, the webpage, and the Daily Journal of Commerce. And I know that this was a bad time because it was just before the holidays, so I'm sure people weren't paying attention. But what if we didn't even get a single bid?
Well, we had gone back to bid, but the Daily Journal of Commerce and the Builders Exchange are, I mean, quite honestly, doing it in the Port Orchard Independent, we only do that because we're required to. The distribution that we get through the Builders Exchange, all contractors look at the Builders Exchange. I think the issue here is, and I wanted to put it in my staff report to make it part of the record. Yes, it was a bad time of the year to bid. We had originally intended to bid this early 2018, but with issues of the Tremont project and the Schedule 74 on some interferences that we've been working through the last couple of months, the contract actually had to move the cutover up by about 4 months. So that truncated the window for us to do the private utility cutovers. So when you look at creating a window that doesn't impact negatively the main contract and the time of year, it limited certain contractors that may have wanted to bid it if they thought that they had 180 working days, but then they realized they needed to get so many, 3/4 of the work done before, the end of April. They chose not to bid. And then another reason, quite honestly, is we had originally budgeted, the $160,000, and that was purely a kind of a engineering guess on what we thought it would take to do the conversions. Once we actually had the non-mandatory pre-bid and we started fielding questions from the contractors that did come, for each lot there was a lot of work that we really hadn't identified. Some hardscape type repairs and painting of the steel pipe and just things that, as we're trying to convert these homes and leave it with a much higher quality product, really, I think those three factors led to a higher amount. Luckily for the city, in the overall project, that we're actually under budget by $6,000, and that $60,000 was really just a number that we threw out there that really wasn't very realistic.
Yes, Councilmember Ashby.
My question is, this Schedule 74 work, okay, the contract we're approving tonight is just our hookup to those residents along there. It has nothing to do with the undergrounding of the utility.
No, the Schedule 74 undergrounding of dry utilities, power, phone, cable, and the relocation of main transition poles are part of the Tremont Street widening project. They're within the area of potential effect.
Okay,
We had made a decision 10
Correct.
years ago
Exactly.
that the city would actually do the resurfacing once the overhead utilities went underground. Some jurisdictions don't. They leave it up to the property owners to have a 90-day notice that says you've got 90 days to reconnect your home to the new point of connection.
The
We
other
made
thing-
that, the council made that decision years ago that they would, but it's a separate city contract.
right, and just to offer my support of having ACI do this, is Active is already doing that whole project, and I would imagine that's why there were not other bids, is this is our preferred vendor to do this. And so
Yes.
I'm pleased to support this contract.
Right, having a separate contractor come in and working with the
With the bid.
contractor
Yeah.
would have created difficulties.
Yeah.
This allows now with this truncated schedule for ACI just to come in and do all the work. They just keep track of the billing separately, knowing that from the property line or the edge of the easement to the house, it's under the underground utility permit, and everything that they're doing within the right-of-way or the area of potential effect is part of the Tremont project.
I would add that I'm grateful that it's under the budget.
Yes.
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 For the original budget amount.
The original budget. Yeah, so the grants, 100 years from now, they're gonna go say, hey,
We were pretty smart.
we were $6,000 under budget, we did great.
That's right.
Well, and the timing is so important. We've got to get the overhead utilities out of the way so they can build the roadway, and that's why this window got shrunk.
Right. Yeah, we would be, until the Schedule 74 done is the cutovers complete, there are utilities that are in the way of now moving into the major sewer and water infrastructure relocations. So that's why they moved that up, because they broke the Schedule 74 into 2 phases. And so they're gonna do the Phase 2 first, then go back to the Phase 1, so that they can work with their overall schedule. So really, this is helping us to really get Tremont moving, to get us out of the ground much more efficiently. And once we're out of the ground, then we're home free.
Other comments or questions? Okay, you'll be voting on adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Active Construction, Inc. for the Tremont Private Utility Conversion Project and documenting procurement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the contract is approved. We are to 7G, adoption of a resolution authorizing investment of City of Port Orchard monies in the local government investment pool. Treasurer Crocker.
Mayor, council members, for the record, my name is Noah Crocker, Finance Director for the City of Port Orchard. Tonight, this is really a housekeeping item. This resolution provides the authority to the Finance Director to access and manage the local government investment pool and bring the city's current records with the Office of State Treasurer, brings the records current with Office of the State Treasurer, and removes and replaces the prior existing resolution. Staff would recommend the adoption of the resolution authorizing investment of City of Port Orchard monies in the local government investment pool.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing investment of City of Port Orchard monies in the local government investment pool.
Second by Councilman Ordiner. Do you have a question?
Yeah, forgive me, I don't understand what this is and what this means to the city and what we can actually do with monies we access or what it's for. So I'd appreciate maybe just a minute to understand that more.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Again, this is really a housekeeping item. We already are investing funds in the local government investment pool, or the LGIP for short. What this resolution does, or what we found, is that when I went to access the information online, they said, you are not on file here, Noah. We can't give you access because Alan Martin's still on record. There's a resolution from 2014, and you guys have to take this back to council and get your name added to that resolution in order to provide you access. So that's really what this is doing, is providing me as the finance director here on record with them to gain access to the LGIP, which is where we maintain most of our cash for investment purposes.
I think the question
Okay.
really is what it is, which is,
The
it's a
LGIP.
pool of dollars managed at the state level that we invest our money with, correct?
Correct, yeah. The LGIP is managed by the Office of the State Treasurer. It's a very liquid investment tool option for local governments. We also have investments with the county, but most of our funds are invested with the State Treasurer's Office, LGIP.
Might I just add, the city has this much money, okay, cash, but we don't need all of it, so we only keep this much in our checking account, and we invest the rest of it in very secure investments so that we can earn some interest on that.
Okay.
And we use basically two pools of money. One is with the state and one is with the county. We don't go out and buy junk bonds and things like that with it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Again, we're trying to maximize our interest earning potential, manage our cash flows, make sure we have cash in the checking account when we need to clear bills, but we don't want it to be overly cash heavy. We want to be invested in safe, secure assets, and Office of the State Treasurer has a long track record of doing that. And we can talk more about the LGIP at a future date if you'd like me to bring more information back and do a little presentation on what the local government investment pool is.
Yeah, perhaps that would be nice for some of us
Okay.
at least.
Yeah. I'll do
Thank
that.
you. Like, is it 1% a month or something that we're getting?
You know, I don't know what's at now. I know it used to be really low because it's a very liquid asset. So it's overnight securities. So the interest rates have been very
Not
low, although
1%
they
a
are
month.
creeping up.
I was hoping.
We are
1% a
getting
day?
something, but if it just sits in our checking account, we don't
I
earn,
agree.
we don't earn anything.
Any, yeah.
No, it's a good idea.
And we shouldn't concentrate it all.
Right, right.
That's right. Okay, so, any further questions on this matter? All right, be voting on a resolution authorizing investment of City of Port Orchard monies in the local government investment pool. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are to 7H, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Art Anderson Associates for the 2018 Kitsap Regional Library Mechanical Engineering HVAC design and documenting procurement. Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Honor, council members. As approved within the 2017-18 budget, the city's Public Works Department is now moving forward with the Kitsap Regional Library Port Orchard Branch Mechanical Engineering HVAC design for the replacement of their existing system. Therefore, on December 4th, 2017, the City of Port Orchard Public Works Department selected 3 qualified firms from the city's current professional services roster, see Exhibit A of Resolution 001-18 attached, for main category engineering services and subcategory heating and ventilating systems planning, mechanical engineering. Staff then scored each statement of qualification and selected Art Anderson Associates as being the most qualified professional services engineering firm for the project. After meeting at Kitsap Regional Library to confirm the existing systems on December 13th, the city received a fee proposal from Art Anderson Associates in the amount of $3,800 for the 2018 Kitsap Regional Library Mechanical Engineering HVAC design and ad-ready plan specs and estimate. And I would like to point out that the KRL budget was specifically $8,000, and that was anticipated originally just to replace the unit on the roof. With the expansion and the reconfiguration that the libraries performed, we decided it was much more prudent to actually design the space so that we may have, heating ducts or return air registers, or really look at the system. We're better off to design the system with this money and then get a system that has a whole heating, cooling system for the facility. With the $8,000 limitation, if that actual construction improvement exceeds what we have remaining, we still have funding that we had for the City Hall HVAC that we haven't spent much of that yet. So my guess is we'll have to work with the treasurer to pull some of that funding over into this. But I think at the end of the day, we're getting what we should get, not just replacing a unit, and they still have the same heating or cooling issues. Like I know Kathleen Wilson's office is blistering hot in the summer and cold in the winter, and we can correct it now, and this is the time to do it. So that's what this interim step is.
fixing it properly versus replacing what we know
Yeah.
isn't functioning.
So, based on that, staff recommends that the city council adopt resolution 00118, thereby approving contract 00318 with Art Anderson Associates in the amount not to exceed $3,800 for the 2018 Kitsap Regional Library Mechanical Engineering HVAC design and ad-ready PS&E, and documenting the professional services procurement procedures pursuant to RCW 39.80.
Member Diener?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 1-18, thereby approving contract number C003-18 with Art Anderson Associates in the amount not to exceed $3,800 for the 2018 Kitsap Regional Library Mechanical Engineering HVAC design and ad-ready PS&E, and documenting the professional services procurement procedures pursuant to RCW 3980.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cacciardi. Questions? Yes.
I just wanted to make note, because I don't think it was noted in the staff report, and a lot of people know, but that is a city building, and so we should point that out.
I have a,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. Under the terms, the agreement is to begin January 9th, which is today, and shall terminate August 31st of this year. And my question is, if the conditions at the library are that bad, this is just the design work, when are we going to be able to actually offer them relief?
Well, my anticipation is that we'll be doing that this year before the summer. We just usually have normally we have a year for the contract for closeout and things. I'd originally had this even shorter, and I thought, well, if they've got some more money in the budget, and when we go out to add, if there's questions, they can offer some bid support, and they could even potentially offer some construction engineering support if we're actually out to bid and we have questions during construction, and I can extend this date. But the plan is to get on this immediately. We've already scheduled a follow-up meeting on site once this contract's approved to as-built the facility. And then, the mechanical design will be very quick. We'll go out to add, the most lengthy part of it, and I'll give them our contract template, is to, in essence, really the specs and the contract documents is probably the most time-consuming, so that we can get those advertised and, get a work product on the street that then we can see where the bids are at. So my goal is that Kathleen will be nice and in a nice 71-degree environment this summer. So that's what we're shooting for.
That's our goal. Okay, other questions? All right, we're voting on adoption of the resolution approving a contract with Art Anderson Associates for the 2018 Kitsap Regional Library Mechanical Engineering HVAC design and documenting procurement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are to the approval of the December 13th, 2017 holiday tour meeting minutes. Yes, Mr. Cacciardi.
Mayor, I would move to approve the December 13, 2017 Holiday Light Tour meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion of the holiday light tour? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. You probably.
Two abstentions.
Two abstentions that were in attendance, that's correct. All right, we are to the approval of the December 19th meeting minutes. Is there a motion? Yes, Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move to approve the December 19th council meeting minutes as presented.
Second it.
And we've got a motion and a second, and I believe I'll have two abstentions also on this one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And two abstentions.
No, two.
Okay. And so we're to our next item. I got a couple, so we could, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I just have a point of order question, and this is directed to the city clerk. Would you just double check with item 7F Did we actually have a motion on the floor? I know we had a discussion, but I'm not sure that we had a motion and a second. I was really focused. Did we?
I recall that there was a motion and a second, but I don't recall that you guys voted. So, is that the one for the,
Active construction?
which one?
Active
I'm sorry, which one again?
7F.
7F?
Uh-huh. Do you know?
I made the motion, I'm not sure who seconded it.
I don't think that we completed this.
So I had
We had a
Councilmember Clausen
discussion.
make the motion and Councilmember Diener second it.
Was it? Okay.
7F? ACI?
For some reason, it seemed that we hadn't completed it, because then you summarized it, and I just felt like, okay, I was just double checking, so thank you.
Pretty confident we did.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we're to the next item, and I know the agenda says that we're going to discuss a water sewer agreement, and that our attorney is Jeff Teraday tonight, and that is not Jeff Teraday sitting over there. So Noah and myself and Thomas Hunter, who's in the audience, worked very hard all through the holidays analyzing the sewer and water utilities, and we basically have a PowerPoint presentation for you tonight, and then an opportunity for some discussion there, but we really don't have an agreement to discuss here this evening. And that's why Sharon's here with us tonight and not Jeff. The plan was to have Jeff here tonight, but we've got some good information and we've got a lot more work to do. With that said, we have an executive session. We could take a 5 to 7 minute break, because we're gonna roll this project screen down. We've got some new tables we're gonna roll out here so that we can all sit out here. And I know the screen works very good for a couple of folks on this side of the room, but the folks on this side of the room have trouble seeing it. We could take a break, or we can go do our executive session while they set the room up. What's your preference?
Let's do that. Executive session.
We'll do the executive session?
Yep.
And then we'll let the clerk's office set the room up. And then, so we're having an executive session pursuant to RCW 40.30.110, 2AII, we'll hold it, it's in regards to potential litigation. And Mr. Bond, what do we think we need, 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think 10 minutes.
10 minutes, we'll be.
Mr.
and
Mayor?
With no action, and you, sir, need to help the clerk set up the room.
Exactly what I'll do.